Let's go, baby. Welcome to week 8 of college football. It is the prop show on Fantasy Points with your guys, Josh Chevalier. I'm Rick Kamla. And Josh, man, I'm feeling good about this collab that we have right here this year. We're having a blast together. We love working with each other. We're buddies. We battle in fantasy leagues together. We're handing out some winners, man. And that was the expectation. But to follow through with the expectation and deliver the results, it's felt good, man. And we've been rolling here. Let's keep it going here.
Yeah, man, I'm loving it. Like, it's been a ton of fun being able to do this together, and we had a good week last week, man. We brought it back together, and I'm really enjoying this, and I think we're gonna have another big week this week. It's fun to be able to make some money ourselves on this stuff too. So it's gonna be another fun week, man. I mean, you and I in our league, we're back to 1-2. All is right with the world. What can we say? Like,
Dude,
it's just it's a good time right now.
So in this league that we're in, that we talk about a lot, if you got to get to 300 points. It's just one of those leagues, right? That's just kind of a bench point that I found. Like if you're above 300, you might not win, but you have a good chance to win. If you're below 300, you're probably taking an L. Josh, I won maybe the ugliest game I've ever won in this league last week. I felt dirty about it, but I did take the win. I won 214 to 210. Okay. And some dude named Flemster for Boise State. I don't even know who would Ebo Flemster. So I just sweat him out until literally like 2 a.m. On Sunday morning, and he went a long time without doing anything. So I won the game, and I was stoked because so I'm right back on your heels here. You're 5-2 as well. Am I correct?
Yep.
But you've got a pretty significant point gap over me. And a head-to-head win over me too. So, but it's fun to have you back in my sights here. You and me are 1-2 in this esteemed league, right where we should be, Josh. And again, that was the expectation. But last week we were 10-5. On the season, we're 50 against 24, so we're 68% cooking on the year. Josh, I think we've only had one dud week, and it wasn't like horrific, but I think we had one like, what the hell was that? But let's keep it rolling here, man. And we usually have a bevy of quarterbacks, maybe 5 names and some different props. Guys, we have 2 quarterbacks, and I kind of split it up into some yards and touchdown props. So let's see if we've got overs, unders, or what. JC, get us started here with Michael Penix, coming off of the huge victory last week over Oregon. He was so freaking clutch. Took the shot to the torso, kept playing through it. That lefty whip just drilling all over the field. But we got a home game here against Arizona State. 3.5 passing touchdowns. Let's start there, and we'll work to the yards here in a minute. Are you going over or under, or stay away on 3.5 passing TDs here for Penix?
Yeah. I mean, this is the best passing offense, I think, in the nation. I don't know if that's really debatable at this point. I mean, they lose Jalen McMillan. Giles Jackson comes in the game and just kills it. I mean, Grubb is amazing. So, I'm going to go the over here because I think Arizona State is definitely susceptible against the pass. I mean, unless it was Arizona, who we saw Arizona give Caleb Williams difficulty. So, like, they probably have a legit secondary. But other than that, I mean, my boy, our boy Penix, man, he's hit 4 TDs on almost everybody. And so I'm definitely going to go over here. I think he might even get over in the first half and not play after the third quarter. But he'll get there. I think he'll be fine on that. I'm pretty confident in the over on that.
I don't know if he's getting to 5, guys. And so you're going to have to play this thing out, right? But I think through a little bit of patience, you're going to hit the over on this. I'm over on it as well. He has exactly 4 touchdowns in 3 of the last 4 weeks, including last week against Oregon, the best defense he's played so far. Arizona State is allowing 28.3 points, which is basically 4 touchdowns. That's 88th in college football. Not good. There's like 133 FBS teams. Josh mentioned Giles Jackson, got in very early in that game. That was one of the reasons I was in such an ugly game. I started Jalen McMillan, and he re-blew the tire early in that game. And now I think it's going to be a lengthy absence for Jalen McMillan. I think that ship has sailed. It's going to be all Adunze and Polk. And Giles Jackson is a terrific pickup in fantasy leagues if he is still out there. So we're both over on Penix here at 3.5 passing touchdowns. I think the number is going to be on 4. But I do like him to get this because that's what he does. This is where he lives. Now Penix at 360.5 with the passing yards here. JC, you going over or under?
Yeah, I'm going under. I mean, this is kind of the narrative that we've had the last few weeks on this show when we're talking about this is the perfect game narrative, right? Like he's got to have the perfect game to 360. Arizona State's got to keep up with them. I mean, I don't see it, man. I don't see him. They don't need him to score 360 or throw for 360. And so I don't think he will. I don't even think he's playing past the third quarter in this game. So Washington, I think Oregon maybe had around 300 passing yards. I think we see that again here, but 360 is just too much for me. I'm going to be pretty confident, to be honest, on the under here.
I am as well. Guys, so we're both under on Penix. We're over on his touchdown passes, under on his passing yards. And this is kind of what he's been doing in conference play, right? Living in the 300s with the passing yards, but still hitting the 4 touchdowns. You can still have a blowout in that. And you need a longer game, a more competitive game to hit the over on yards. But if you've got a blowout, then you've scored the points to create that blowout, and you need touchdowns to do it. So this is all about non-conference play versus conference play for Michael Penix. He's got 400 plus passing yards in all 3 non-conference games. He's only over 300 passing yards in the 3 conference games. He's gone 304, 363, and 302. So he's been under this number in 2 of 3 in conference play. This is a conference game. Now, Arizona State is 1-5. They suck. This is going to be a 40, right? That's going to be a 40-13 type of game. And as you said, Penix might not be in there in the 4th quarter. So over on Penix touchdowns, under on Penix passing yards. Now, I'm going to try to sell you and me on Dillon Gabriel here. Josh, he's at 3. The Oklahoma QB, heading into last week, he was number 2 on my Heisman list behind Caleb Williams. I've not recalculated my Heisman rankings. I will in advance of my Mad Dog radio show on Saturday afternoon. But Dillon Gabriel was number 2, and I presume he'll still be very, very high. They're coming off of a bye here. But I'm not totally sold, all right? I lean over Josh, but I'm not totally sold. He's been over this. This is why I don't understand why I'm not just saying over here, because he's been over this number in 4 of 6. SMU and Texas were the unders. Texas, obviously, a very good defense. He's hosting UCF and a horrible defense. John Reese Plumlee is back for UCF, which I think is going to make him slightly more competitive and that much more likely to extend the game for Dillon and require more from him. So why do I have a hiccup here, Josh? Why am I just not leaping at this bag that should be there for Gabriel over 306.5? And where are you at with this?
I think I'm going to go over on this one. And for me, I guess it starts with Dillon Gabriel. And where is he coming from? Like, he transferred from UCF, right? That was where he was at originally when Gus Malzahn came in, and Jeff Lebby went there 2 years ago to Oklahoma from Ole Miss. Like, he transferred there. And so I think there's a little revenge factor here. We're just wanting to prove that he's the quarterback that everyone thinks that he is. And so I think 306, I think UCF is going to be competitive enough in this game, and like you said, in order to make him throw for 300 yards. And they're going to be missing Andrel Anthony, but Nick Anderson has been more than capable to fill in for him, and he's been really good. And so you still have Jaleel Farouk, you got Drake Stoops. I mean, this is an offense that wants to air it out, and they don't have. Look, Tawee Walker, the running back there, like, he could be legit, but we haven't seen it yet. But we know that the passing game is really good, while the running game still has question marks. And so I'm gonna go pretty confident here on Dillon Gabriel over.
I needed you to push me off, okay, and push me over the fence. I'm with it. The get back angle, I think, is the cherry on top of all these angles we've talked about. I'm with it. Okay, so we're both over on Dillon Gabriel here at 306.5. Sometimes scientists need a co-signing from their fellow scientists, and that's what I needed right there on Dillon Gabriel. Because we're scientists at college football here. Rick Kamla and Josh Chevalier. We're the prop show on Fantasy Points College Football. Dylan Gabriel, 2.5 touchdown passes. Josh, I'm over on this one. UCF, as we talked about, gives up 4 touchdowns a game. Gabriel is over this number in 2 of 3 at home. He averages 3 touchdowns per game at home. And again, the Plumlee angle, I think, works in Gabriel's benefit to get more stats. So over on 2.5 touchdowns here. Do you like Gabriel to get to 3 or 4 touchdowns in this one?
So I feel a lot more confident in the passing prop here. And here's why. I think so Gabriel definitely can run the ball, right? And so they get into the red zone. Are they gonna like do some read option plays, right, with Towie Walker and him, and just try to run the ball there? Like I think they're gonna. I guess my point is I think it's gonna take some touchdowns outside of the red zone, some explosive ones for them to get there. But we just saw UCF give up a ton of yards on the ground to Kansas a couple weeks ago, and I'm really high on Walker, the running back for OU this game. And I think part of the reason why is because I think you can have touchdowns in the red zone, just like you did against Texas, where he had 15 carries, 46 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns in the red zone. So that scares me, honestly, on this. I'm going to go the over, but just because I think I personally think that Oklahoma is going to put up 40, maybe 50 on UCF in this game. And so there's going to be plenty of touchdowns to go around. But I'm not feeling super confident on that, to be honest, because I think there could be a lot of rushing touchdowns in this game.
I get it. Oklahoma is smashing teams. Okay. They're not winning, they're dominating. And that's why I liked them in the Texas game. I'm like, no, I mean, I know they haven't really played anybody, but they're not beating them, they're dominating them. So that makes it, to me, worthy, right? If you're covering and not covering against non-cons, that, okay, you're flimsy. But if you're just hammering everybody, it's pretty obvious that you're a badass team. It's Cam, it's Josh. We're the Prop Show on Fantasy Points. Here leading into week 8 of the college football season. Getting late. We're getting close to the fantasy football playoffs here as well in college football. Let's move on to the running back positions here, Josh. Dylan Johnson against Arizona State. Wow. 89.5 is the rushing yard prop here. So take us into this one, man. Dylan Johnson, obviously pass catcher at Mississippi State. With Jaquavius Marks, and now he's kind of the dude up there in Washington State after the transfer. 89.5 is a big number. You over or under?
Yeah, I'm under on this, and I think the last couple of weeks he's come, he's gone over on this prop, and it's been close. But here's why I'm going to go under on this one. I think this game, they're not going to need him to run for a lot of yards in this one because it's going to be a blowout. And I think when they passed a lot in the last few games against Oregon and then Arizona, because they had to diversify the attack because it couldn't just blow them out of the water passing the ball. But there's the other 3 opponents, they didn't have to run the ball at all because they were just so much better. And I think Arizona is more in line with their first 3 opponents than their last 2. And so I think Dylan Johnson was a little bit of a game script play / game flow. Like they needed to mix it up in order to have more success on offense. They want to pass first and second and third. They don't want to run the ball. And I think this is going to be more of Dylan Johnson. Just running and being hyper efficient maybe, but not getting a lot of carries. And by the time that they maybe would run him, he'll be out of the game. And so I just think the number is pretty high, considering his highest total of the year is 100 yards. I believe that was this last week against Oregon. And the Arizona one, which he ran quite a bit there, it was pretty close. And so for me, this seems more of a ceiling than anything else. And so I'm going to go under on this one. And there's, it's a hard week for running backs too. So I think some of these are pretty good. So I think this is just the one that stuck out to me as all right, I could see this being a blowout pretty early and then Dylan Johnson not needing to do much.
I hear everything you're saying. If I had to play it, I would go under, but I'm going to stay away on this one, Josh. And here's why. Dylan Johnson, 36 carries over the last 2 weeks. And he should be around 20 in this game. So we kind of look at that differently a little bit. I think, and here's why. Since Jalen McMillan went down, we've seen Dylan Johnson's 2 best games. It's almost like they're running it a little bit more, and we've seen Penix's yardage come down a little bit. So he's missing a top weapon in Jalen McMillan. But I think also there's been a little bit of an offensive adjustment here to run the rock a little bit more without Jalen McMillan. He's the clear bell cow of this offense. He got 20 out of 22 running back carries last week against Oregon. So, when you talk about volume, you know what I mean? Like it lets me know that maybe he does hit this number here at 89.5. But I do like and it's a blowout. That tends to be more running. They don't really have a good number 2 running back. So I don't know. I'm just hung up on it, and it's a stay away for me. But guys, take Josh's advice. Bang the under here on Dylan Johnson, 89.5. Ollie Gordon of Oklahoma State at West Virginia here, 88.5 rushing yards. And I like the over here. Josh, there's this thing called the hot hand. Okay. And there's sometimes that the dice you're rolling and it craps out and the hot streak is over. Well, the hot streak isn't over for Ollie Gordon yet. Okay. He's rolling. 121, 136, and 168 in the last 3 games. Last week, he had a 100 Roger Craig type of game. The carries, he's gone 18, 21, 29. West Virginia's defense against the run is okay. They're giving up 119, 3.6 per rush, and a little bit less than a touchdown per game. So it's not a bad run defense, but it's not a shutdown run defense like something Iowa's going to put out there, right? So I'm not worried about the road scenario. And I like Ollie Gordon here, over 88.5. Josh, how about you?
Yeah, I do too. I'm with you. I mean, I'm going to like a lot from this game, to be honest. I mean, I think the props are pretty good in favor of Oklahoma State here. And I guess the question for me is ultimately, like, it seems like when they played running backs that are pretty good, that those running backs have had some success. Now you had Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, right? They both averaged over 5 yards a carry against this defense. And then, we did see a bell cow go against them with Texas Tech, right? With Taj Brooks. And he had like 25 carries for 149 yards, averaged 6 yards a carry. I think Ollie Gordon, right? He's hit his stride, like you said, hot hand. I just think he's more in line with the Taj Brooks of the world than, whatever Houston was throwing out there, Parker Jenkins, and some of those other guys that just, they're not very good. Some of their stats look good because they played running backs are running, games that just aren't very good. But, Ollie Gordon has shown up, and I think we can see that they want to feed him the rock, and he's the focal point of that offense right now. And so I'm with you, man. He's going to get 20, 25 carries. And all he needs to average is 4 yards a carry, and he hits that prop pretty easily.
Your boy, Mike Gundy, he is a bell cow guy. He is not a split backfield guy. He's a split backfield guy if he doesn't have a guy. But when a guy emerges, he rides the guy, like Sean McVay in the NFL. I love guys like that. I mean, Sean McVay, right? If you're averaging 3.2 per carry, but you're his guy, you're getting that rock, Kyron Williams styles, 23, 25 times a game. We love that in fantasy. This just in. It's Cam and Josh with the prop show on Fantasy Points College Football. We're both over on Ollie Gordon here at 88.5, guys. Now, Pat Garwo, he's been at Boston College for a while. He's not one of the bigger names in college football, okay, but he has a great matchup at Georgia Tech here. And Boston College has a very run-heavy offense, okay? You've got a running quarterback in Thomas Castellanos. And you've got Garwo. And Castellanos probably have 15 carries. Garwo will have 20 plus, and they just kind of ground and pound. It's very boring, but it's what they do. 59.5. Okay. Josh, I thought this number would be a little bigger, but it is what it is. 59.5 here. I'm over. He's been the bell cow over the past 2 games. 23 carries, 87 yards. 14 carries, 111 yards. Robichaux, Garwo, he started the season as the starter, then got hurt. Robichaux took over, had a game or 2 of success. He got hurt. Garwo's back. So there's no split thing here. And here's the best part of this prop, Josh, is Georgia Tech's run defense. They've given up 214 per game on the ground. 5 yards per carry. And so I like Garwo here, man, at 59.5. You with me?
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun when you get to watch some of these teams play live, right? And probably haven't had a lot of opportunities to watch Georgia Tech, considering they're just not very good. But I watched them play against Miami a couple weeks ago, and they're terrible. Like my
Jawar
boy Don.
Jordan was ripping them to shreds in that opening
Oh,
game. You might have remember that one.
yeah, Justice Ellison for Wake Forest, 137 yards,
He
right?
doesn't run for a. That's not who Justice Ellison even is.
Right, Terrion Stewart from Bowling Green, 138 yards. I mean, this is a defense that has just given up chunk plays. Don Chaney's never hit 100 yards. He hits 99 or 100 yards against them, right? Like Jawar Jordan, like it's everybody but Quinshon Judkins is the one that goes under that 50-yard total. But anyways, I'm just belaboring the point at this point. But yeah, I think this is one of the best smashes of the slate. I love that you picked this one, and I think it's going to be a definite over here for all the obvious reasons.
Let's get some Garwo in your prize picks lineup or wherever you're playing these prop bets. But we both like Garwo, the running back for Boston College, over 59.5. Let's move on to the wide receivers, Josh, and talk to me about Malik Washington of Virginia against North Carolina here, 88.5. You over or under?
Yeah, I'm over on this, like for sure. I mean, part of it is just Malik Washington has just been incredible over the last 5 games. I mean, he's averaging 127 yards a game. It's like Malik who when the season started. This is why we love CFF. His low over that span is 97 yards, and he's done it with 2 different quarterbacks, right? He's done it with the true freshman, and then Musket came back and he's done it with him as well. UNCD, they're giving up about 245 yards passing. UVA is passing it for 243 yards. And they have 2 targets that they go after, and we'll talk about both of them tonight, Malik Washington and Malachi Fields. So they just they funnel touches these guys. They're 23.5-point underdogs, UVA is. So they're going to have to throw the ball. They don't really have a rushing attack to speak of anyways. So I think it just all lines up for – we saw Miami last week. Like they were getting blown out by UNC, but they're still able to have 2 wide receivers really go off here. So, I don't want to discredit what UNC is doing. I mean, I think they've been awesome, but I do think that they're vulnerable to, a couple guys having some success against them.
Agreed. And you mentioned game script. UNC was up on Miami 38-17 early in the 4th quarter. Miami scored 2 touchdowns in the 4th. To make it ultimately a 10-point game, and it's throw when you're down that far. So game script is in our favor here with UVA trying to play catch up with my guy Drake May and in North Carolina. So I'm over on this one as well. I just want to add that I like that he's been consistent, Malik Washington, with multiple quarterbacks. Okay, it's not a conditional thing. Like really doesn't matter. He's putting up major statistics, and North Carolina is weaker at defending the pass than they are against the run. They do have a pretty good run defense. It's not elite. It's not shut down, but it's pretty good. And their pass defense is vulnerable. So I like the over on Malik Washington as well. Let's go to Malachi Fields, who you brought up. Much lower number here, Josh, at 53.5.
Yeah. I mean, this one I like even better than Malik, right? Because I can see, 88.5 is just it's a big number for anybody, right? But Malachi Fields at 53.5, I mean, he's almost matching Malik for targets this year. And he's just had a really, I think his lowest output over this last 5 weeks is 60 yards. He's averaging 71. Well, over this prop, he's an outside wide receiver. The best defenders and the secondary for UNC is the slot cornerback. So I think Malachi's got a little bit of an easier matchup than Malik personally. And so this feels to me like one that I'm definitely going to try to go and hit. So I really like the over for Malachi Fields in this one.
I do as well, Josh. This is co-signage between your homies here on the prop show. Cam and Josh, look, Vegas has got to do what they got to do. Okay. I'm not smarter than Vegas. Josh is not smarter than Vegas. None of us are. Maybe aliens up above in a spaceship are. I don't know. So, but just to me, 53.5. And then you look at the flow on this man, we're talking 63, 74, 70, 60, 88, 63. You would think that this line would be more like 65.5 based on the body of work so far. So the fact that it's at 53.5, to me, it's a banger for us. So I'm over on Malachi Fields here as well. You are going to have to, Josh, if you want to go over on this next prop, you are going to have to sell me like I don't know, man, like a financial planner or like I just a salesman, right? Like Nico Raggiani of Iowa against my Gophers in a game that's going to be completely dreadful and unwatchable. 20.5 receiving yards. Literally, they should put leather helmets on the players in this football game. That's how ugly and awful and 3 yards in a cloud of dust this game is going to be. So, all that said, Nico Raggiani of Iowa, 20.5 receiving yards, Josh. 20 yards? That's how low we're going here. What's up?
Yeah. All right, a couple things here. One, real quick, Gabe Adams, man, quick shout out. He had a comment in our comments section, and appreciate you checking in with us tonight. But hey, this is a little bit of page out of Mike Bainbridge's book, who writes our props over at Fantasy Points. So this part of this is just a shout out to him. He pulled up an Iowa receiver last week and did an under at 24.5 yards, and it smashed. The guy didn't even get a target. And so this one, in our show sheet, I wrote it as an over, but I meant an under on 20.5 yards. But let me read you about Nico. I don't even know who Nico is, but what I know about Nico,
that offense is so dead to me. I know the running backs, and that's all I know about. What's your boy's name? Deacon Hill? Is that his name? The dude that took over for Kate McNamara?
Dude, his passing prop is at under 100 yards this week. I mean, it's just so bad.
Crazy.
And here's the deal. Like, our boy Nico, he's averaging 7.8 yards over the last 5 weeks. I mean, he's got a couple of zeros. He's got his highest total is 18. So look, could it go over? For sure. But the last couple of weeks we've been hitting the unders Mike has in his article. And so I'm like, man, actually, I won some money off of that last week. And so I'm like, hey, let's go back to this well, and just like this passing offense is just so broken for Iowa that why not, man? And Wisconsin actually pretty tough against the pass potentially. So I'm going under, man.
If this game, I'll tell you, Josh, if this game were, I'm getting confused here. So it's
sorry, I meant Minnesota. That was my bad.
At Iowa. If this game is at home. I can't go under because if it was at Minnesota, I'm like, okay, I'm with you. I'm going under. It's at home. Maybe they hit a big, I don't know. It's a stay away for me. It's just
understandable.
It's literally like the most Ugo offense in all of college football right now. Like Rutgers has a better offense than what they got going on in Iowa right now.
Yeah.
So it's a stay away for me. But I like laughing about your boy Nico Raggiani there for a minute. So let's move on here to a pretty smashable prop here, Josh, to be honest with you. Rashad Owens, wide receiver for Oklahoma State. We're going back to that game against West Virginia here. We like the over on Ollie Gordon. And so now we got 51.5 on Rashad Owens here, Josh. You over or under?
Yeah, I'm way over on this. One, I've been highly in tune with since the injury to Deshaun Stribling of what's happening here at Oklahoma State. And so Rashad Owens is the new Deshaun Stribling, who was an outside wide receiver. For those that don't know, for Oklahoma State, it's always an outside wide receiver for Oklahoma State. That's the wide receiver one. Just has been that way for the last 9 years with Gundy. So Rashad Owens has come in the last 2 games. He's got 19 targets, 10 targets in one game, 9 in the other. So pretty even, 75 yards and 112 yards. And so, I mean, at 51.5, I mean, we have such a cushion here for them to hit the over on this. And, it just doesn't really matter to me what West Virginia does as far as a defense. Like, it's such a low number that it feels like he's going to hit this one for sure. Yeah. So I'm over on this one.
I'm over on it as well, Josh. And I will give the people the defensive stats on West Virginia. They're in our favor here. They give up 226 per game through the air with 2 touchdowns. And so it's not good. It's not bad. It's kind of right in the middle. But my point is, like, I was looking for a reason not to play, right? Not to go over here. And I didn't find it. You know what I mean? If West Virginia allowed 153 passing yards and 49% completion rate and 0.8 touchdowns, okay, they got a pretty nasty pass defense. That is not the case. I like the over here on Rashad Owens. Pardon me, at 51.5. Let's move on. We have how many more here? We've got 3 more. We got a wide receiver, a tight end, and another wide receiver here. Let's talk about Monterey Baldwin of Baylor going up against the Cincinnati Bearcats, who, boy, are they in a bad way without Luke Fickell. By the way, Luke Fickell and the Air Raid and Tanner Mordecai, they sold us a bill of goods, bro. That is a piece of junk. That is the it's gross. I couldn't cover like when I give my my ATSs, it was last week or the week before. I couldn't cover with Wisconsin at home against Iowa and Deacon Hill. Your boy, Deacon Hill. Couldn't cover. That's how bad Wisconsin is. They couldn't even cover against Iowa with this dude named Deacon Hill at quarterback with a passing prop in the double digits on Prize Picks. Anyway, sorry, I had to get that off my chest. Yes, I'm still holding a grudge. But we got Monterey Baldwin here. 56.5 receiving yards. Josh, are you over or under?
Yeah, I'm over. And Monterey Baldwin has smashed this number. I'm not sure what Prize Picks is doing here, because last 3 weeks since he came back from injury, Monterey Baldwin 81, 150, 126. He's got 24 targets in that stretch. He on the season 17 catches for 404 yards. That's about 24 yards a catch. Now, here's why this is important. Cincinnati to opposing wide receiver ones, 5 catches for 113 yards. I mean, they're giving up a ton through the air. And your yards per completion that they're allowing is 15.8. And I believe, which is 130. So the top or bottom 5 in the country in that category. And they're just giving up a ton of big plays and explosive plays. And this is what Baylor does. They're averaging 13.8 yards per completion. So it's just like, it's a perfect matchup for Monterey Baldwin to be able to go off in this one. I love this prop. This and Rashad Owens are 2 of my favorites as far as the receiver props on this one.
Me too. These are well spotted by you, Josh Chevalier. I am over on this one as well. The Cincinnati defense gives up 230 and 2 touchdowns through the air. So again, I'm looking for a reason not to go with Josh on this, right? Let me just do some more digging here and look for any reason not to go over. I couldn't find it. I could not find a reason not to go over, so I'll go over with you. Now, let me sell you on Cade Stover.
Yep.
Our boy, who has cashed tickets for us here before, on the prop show with Cam and Josh here on Fantasy Points. I'm over on Cade Stover in the showdown game against Penn State. 46.5 receiving yards. I believe the last time we hit this, he was at 37 or 38, and it was a very, very low number. So Prize Picks is getting with it a little bit here. We're coming up, but I don't think they came up high enough. Cade Stover has been over this number in 5 of 6 games this year, with the only game that he didn't hit the over was the Youngstown State game, which was the McCord-Harrison explosive first half, and they shut the offense down in the second half. So that wasn't even a legitimate game for Cade Stover. When they're rocking and doing their thing, he goes over this number every time. His flow in the over games has gone 98, 90, 52, 66, 53. And we've talked about it. Stover's growing on me for the NFL. He looks like an NFL tight end to me. And his numbers are even better than Emeka Egbuka, who I know has been hurt. But when you watch Ohio State, dang it, Josh, doesn't it feel like Cade Stover's kind of like that number 2 guy, even when Egbuka was healthy? So I like me some Cade Stover here, man, over 46.5, even against a really, really good Penn State defense.
Yeah, and you think back to last year with Cade Stover. I mean, and this year, right? It's the big games that Cade Stover seems to show up in. Whether it's playoff games or, Notre Dame. I mean, he just has these big games. And so I love it. I mean, 46.5. I mean, this is a number that he can get to. They like to target him down the field. So he's not in that traditional, 10 yards, per catch category. I mean, he's really getting up the seam quite a bit. And I think Penn State's a little susceptible. Maybe I'm just so skeptical of Manny Diaz because of his time with Miami. I just saw a ton of them, but he can be had for some explosive plays. And I think Cade Stover is the type of player that can take advantage of that. All he needs is one catch down the middle for 50 yards, and he hits this one for sure. So I love it, man. I'm over with you.
And let me try to sell you here on Roman Wilson. If you have undertaken this task with me before, it is successfully, I might add. Roman Wilson is the Michigan wide receiver. He's their number one, and we got the Michigan State rivalry. This is not a Mark D'Antonio Michigan State defense. Okay, Michigan State pretty much sucks across the board right now. They are in a dumpster fire of nothingness. Okay, and Michigan obviously is very, very good. 55.5 receiving yards is our number here on Roman Wilson. I like the over. He's been over this number in 5 of 7 games this year. He comes off a season low 14-yard game. And Josh, I love playing teams and players coming off of dud games because they're going to be highly motivated to fix it. He's been 56 plus yards in all 3 Big Ten games, either at, or barely over this number, but over this number nevertheless. I do think that they've got this number right, Josh. You know what I mean? This is right around the zone that Roman Wilson lives. But we've got a rivalry game. We might have a little bit of a petty, let's just go for one more touchdown kind of thing. He's a big play guy, so maybe it's one home run ball and we hit the over here. And this guy's balling, Josh. He's got 9 touchdowns in 7 games so far. So and I know it's a touchdown metric to support in a yardage over here, but I just wanted to bring that up to let the people know how freaking ballin' this guy is. 9 TDs, man. He's the go-to guy in this passing game, and I think he's going to hit the over here against their arch rival.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one for me. I mean, it's probably one that I'll, in reality, stay away from, just in my own prize picks, but just because it's so close of a number. But I can see going over on this, and I'll go over with you for this reason. I do think Michigan State is a tough against the run, and our boy Corum just hasn't been getting a ton of rushing yards week to week. In fact, I was looking at the under for that potentially on this show, and I didn't end up going with it. But I think if they're going to get them, if they're going to make it tough on them on the ground, then I think Roman Wilson can have more than 55 through the air for sure. So I'll go over with you because the game script, I think, for this one, I think is in his favor. We got a comment here on the screen. Only thing I worry about, some of these plays and the QBs reverting to the mean on some of these QBs. McCord passing prop is 45 yards less this week than last, and Bowman isn't throwing for 450 again. Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, Ben, when you watch back, I don't know if you've been watching the whole show or not, but we did not like the QBs on the passing props on this slate. So we stayed away from quite a bit. So I think we're with you on wanting to see some prove it with Bowman or with McCord on some of these props. And so we're staying away from that for sure. But thanks for the comment.
McCord has an extremely difficult matchup here. And, we're not talking about the Marvin Harrison. What is it, 85.5 or whatever it is, somewhere in that range. We're not going with that. Okay. It's a big number. Well, it's a moderately big number for a stud receiver, but it's a great defense. It's just to stay away from me. Stover has been so consistent hitting his number. And so we've covered it, but Tom, really appreciate the comment right there. We were over on we had Dylan Gabriel and we had Michael Penix, and we did like for Penix, we like the over on his touchdowns, the under on his passing yards. So let's talk about a couple of games here, Josh, and we will say goodbye to the people here. The Prop Show with Rick Kamla and Josh Chevalier on Fantasy Points. Let's keep it rolling here with Penn State at Ohio State. It will not be the white out, all the white towels. That's such a cool look, right? They score a touchdown and the whole stadium in unison is doing it. It's just that stuff with college football. like it's eye candy, right? But I'm a geek. I dig it, man.
Yeah.
And it's just very, very cool to me. All that college football stuff. That's why we love this, man. We love helping
Yeah.
you make money. But Penn State at Ohio State, the Buckeyes at the shoe are laying 4.5. Where are you at with this one, Josh?
Yeah. I'm going Ohio State with with the points. And I think they cover 4.5 in this one. I trust them so much more. I mean, they've been there before. They've had so many big games. And I worry a little bit with Penn State. One, their defense, I'm just not convinced. I mean, they've been so dominant, and I just wonder if they're going to be that dominant. We've seen teams be able to take advantage of when Manny Diaz's defense, when it breaks bad. um, and usually it's fine, right? But like they're so aggressive that they can tend to give up big plays, and it's like, man, are you going to leave Marvin Harrison on an island? You better hope that pass rush gets there. Because I could see Ohio State being able to take advantage of some of that. I also think, I don't know what's going on with Nick Singleton. Maybe this is his breakout game, but he's really struggled this year. And I don't know if Katron Allen, is going to be enough, or the passing game is going to be enough for Penn State. I don't know if they're going to put up enough points, I guess is basically my point, to ultimately keep up with Ohio State. And so I think Ohio State wins probably by about a touchdown in this one. And yeah, I'm going with them. What about you?
This is one of my releases, Josh. I am on. It's actually a best bet. It's a 2-unit number for me. I'm on Ohio State here, and all the reasons you said and more. And you can check it out in print on Fantasy Points. And tomorrow morning I'll be doing a video that I'll be putting out. But Drew Aller, okay. First of all, I think he's overrated. And I'm not saying he won't be a stud in the NFL and all this stuff. I'm saying right now, where he's at in his maturity and development, he's being overrated. People are like assuming too much with this guy. He's played a grand total of nobody, people.
Yeah.
Nobody. Okay. We're halfway through the year. James Franklin's got a great record. What are they, 7 in the nation? All this kind of stuff. And it's fool's gold once again, people. Drew Aller has played nobody. Now he's going to Ohio State in a absolute showdown game. No, I think it's a huge step up in class. I think Aller will be in over his head. I watched the entire game against Illinois about a month ago, and Aller missed throw after throw after throw in that game. And this is Illinois without Devon Witherspoon and without Brian Cook and all these fantastic DBs and Brown. All these great DBs that they've had over the last couple of years with these badass Illinois defenses. That ain't the case this year, and my man couldn't even shred against them. So it's really a Drew Aller thing. I am fading Drew Aller here in his toughest matchup of the year. Now, lastly here, Josh, I want to know from you. We've got a big Pac-12 game here before it dies. We've got Utah, at Southern Cal. Okay, Southern Cal got mauled at Notre Dame last week, 48-20. I could have foreseen a Notre Dame victory. I could not have foreseen 48-20 with 3 interceptions for Caleb Williams. Okay, that was not on my bingo card or my clone in another dimensions bingo card either. All right. So what do we get here? Do we get a bounce back for the Trojans, or do you think Utah is going to go into the Coliseum and cover?
I think Utah is going to go on the Coliseum and cover. And the last couple weeks, well, I think it's been more than the last couple weeks. I'm beginning to think that offensive line is just so bad for USC that I'm not sure that they can give Caleb Williams enough time. And I don't know if the receivers are good enough. Like Zachariah Branch really needs to step up. Because I think what happened with Notre Dame is like those receivers were not getting any separation against those DBs. And look, Notre Dame has great DBs, right? Like it's a great defense. And so, but Arizona was like, I mean, Caleb Williams had to pull magic, but he was running for his life in that game. And Utah is a whole nother level of defense than Arizona. And then they have a running game that seems like they found their stride last week with maybe running some like weird wildcat with a safety who ran for 15 carries for 158 yards. And then Joaquin Jackson looked kind of healthy and had a decent game. Like, I just wonder if they don't just try to pound the ball, play keep away. And if Caleb Williams, if they can't protect him, then they just might be in trouble. And I think it's enough trouble. I don't know if Utah wins, but I think they can cover and keep it close.
We have a disagreement here, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, Josh has taken the 7 with the Utes. Bryson Barnes and Nate Johnson are why I like USC here. Among other reasons, Josh, I'm a big bounce back guy. That was the worst game for Caleb Williams in a Trojan uniform. 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. It is by far the grossest game he has had in that uniform. And Utah beat USC twice last year. Are they going to keep that rolling here? It's at the Coliseum, and I don't see Barnes or Johnson handling their business and being able to keep up with Caleb Williams, who is going to be highly motivated. Josh is right. Utah's defense is nasty. If this game were in Utah, a different conversation, right? They beat USC up there last year, and it's one of the most difficult places to play in all of college football. This is at the Coliseum, and this is Utah out of that comfort zone. And so I do like the Trojans here. I'm big on like the player bounce back angle, the team bounce back angle. I mean, everything sucked. Lincoln Riley, the defense, Caleb Williams, they suck, 48-20. So we have a pissed off team, and their lives are on the line. They can still make the college football playoff and win the Pac-12, and they can still do lots of stuff with 1 loss. You lose again, and you're dead, and you're done. And so I think we're going to get a lot of desperation, a lot of motivation, and hair on fire. And, Josh, I'm going to tell you right now, I believe what Notre Dame did last week to USC. It is the best defensive performance I've seen from any team all year long. They were flying around like the Ray Lewis Baltimore Ravens, right? Just whoosh, a swarm on the football the whole game. And give them a ton of credit. And Utah's defense is really good, but I don't think they're going to have their hair on fire quite like that. So, wow. So we shall see, folks. We shall see. JC is on the Utes. I'm on the Trojans. And before we bid you adieu, Josh, anything else you want to get off your chest or tell the people about something you got coming up?
Yeah, no, just check out our stuff on Fantasy Points. We got a college football DFS live stream coming tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's been a ton of fun. We've been making money every week on Saturdays, and that's just been, just like the props. Like, this stuff has been going well. And so, yeah, join us on that show. Love to have you. All of our content actually is free this week. All the articles are free, actually. And so we got a bunch coming out tomorrow, including a DFS article and some props and different things like that. Your videos coming out. So, hey, check our stuff out. Check out our Twitter handle. We'll be retweeting that stuff so you guys can get access to those articles and see what we have over at Fantasy Points.
Josh, good luck, my friend, this week, week 8 in college football. We'll talk next week, man.
Love it. Peace.